Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Rivkush, the CJN podcast, sponsored by Canadian Race Relations Foundation. This is where Jews of color are amplified, talking about all things Jewish, Israel, whatever. My guest today is Leah Chaya. I am so pleased to have her. We've been kind of, like Facebook friends, it feels like, for forever. And it is my pleasure to have a conversation with her today. So let me tell you a little bit about Leah. She is an entrepreneur, attorney, legal consultant, proud founder of Am Ahad Inclusive Alliance, which is a nonprofit dedicated to fostering an inclusive Jewish community that embraces diversity, and it's especially for Jews of color. Originally from New Jersey, Leah's journey has taken her from Orthodox Judaism to now identifying as a traditional Jew. As a mom to 4 amazing Black Jewish gentlemen, diversity and inclusion are at the core of her personal and professional life. Leah holds a BA in Business Administration from Washington State University and a law degree from Seton Hall University School of Law. Impressive as you know what. So welcome. I can't tell you, when you agreed, I was so, to use the British expression, so chuffed to have you here. So
well, thank you for inviting me. Oh my God,
super cool, super cool. So let's dive in. So first of all, I would like to know a little bit more about you. Like you talked about your 4 amazing, I love it. You mentioned your 4 amazing Black Jewish gentlemen. I think that is awesome. I've had a glimpse into your life, and they seem incredible. So tell me how you went from Orthodox Judaism to traditional Jew. So can we explore a little bit about why this shift? What was your thinking behind that?
Okay. Well, the Orthodox community can seem like you're living in a fishbowl at times. And I was going through a divorce with my ex-husband, and I didn't feel that the community was as supportive as I felt it should be. And so I went through a time where I was really questioning my relationship with Hashem.
Wow.
And so, I went through that process. At the end of it, I came out the other side. First, I have to say, I did go off the derech for a short period of time.
I love that
I'm going to be honest.
I love that you said that, because I love that expression, regardless of what it means. Like I'm a little OTD. So okay, you went OTD.
So I did go off the derech for a short period of time, but then I came back and I said, I do love Hashem. I just felt that I didn't have to identify as being an Orthodox Jew in order to do that. I still live within a Jewish community. My kids still attend yeshiva. We observe Shabbos. And so, I'm doing all the things.
Right.
Orthodox Jews would do, keep kosher. And, and so I just don't feel that I need to identify as an Orthodox Jew. Why put a label on my level of religiosity when it's not necessary?
Absolutely. Did you find because you went OTD that obviously not only did your relationship shift, but do you find now that there's an additional meaning to it because you did go OTD? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, do you find?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that now I have a stronger connection to Hashem because I did that. I could have stayed OTD, but I came back and I didn't have to.
Yes.
And so now the relationship that I have with Hashem is is more important to me than ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How was it? Because we're obviously, because I do want to hear more about the nonprofit that you founded. But how did you find walking through the community, your community, whatever community, as a Jew of color, in particular, an Orthodox Jew of color at the time?
Oh.
It was like,
Well,
alrighty.
well, yeah. So we may use this as a segue into, the
Yep.
organization. So, I mean, being a Jew of color, let's just be realistic. In any Jewish environment, Orthodox, conservative, reform, or no, label, non-denominational. I'll just say that. You typically have the same issues, and it was something that I found out, as I was joining different groups, especially on Facebook,
Hmm.
where you're meeting Jews from all over the world and all over the country.
Right.
And our stories are all the same.
Hmm.
Walking into a synagogue, where or even getting into a synagogue,
Right.
if you can do that. Sometimes, you can't even get in because you're seen as suspicious,
Right.
you know. So initially going into my community, you know, I had some hiccups. Of
Hmm.
course, we all have hiccups.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I really have to think about it because I'm thinking about all of the events
Oh,
that have
wow.
transpired over the years in the various communities,
Hmm.
you know. So I can't sit here and say that they were all positive because they weren't, you
Right.
know. And I mean, and it has changed me in such a way, I mean, ideally, we're told that we're Jews and we should be accepted as Jews everywhere. But the reality is that we aren't.
Hmm.
We aren't. We live in a very Ashkenazi normative world.
Right.
And when people think of Jews, they think of white.
Right.
And we are not that. We are
Right.
definitely not that. So if we're walking into an environment, the first thing people see is our skin color.
Hmm.
And so they're thinking, okay, that person isn't Jewish. Why are they here? And so, you know, it's just that's one of the reasons why I started this organization because I was so fed up with hearing the stories, dealing with the stories, always having to warn my children when they go to different communities. I mean,
Hmm.
my son Yoni went to Muncie recently for a Shabbos, and I was like, "Oh my God, I
Oh,
know Muncie. I know Muncie
yeah.
very well."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had to I had to talk to him prior to going, and had to ask him questions about how he would handle certain situations. And so I'm always talking to my children because they're very protected.
Hmm.
Everyone knows them in this community. This is the community they were born in. Everyone knows them at their school. They've been
Right.
there since they were practically born. Every other Jewish community around here, people know my family. People know them, and people know of us. So it's not really an issue around here. But when you
Yes.
venture out,
You
that is
see?
when you have issues.
It's almost like, as black people, black women in particular, we have conversations with our children. And I'm not even saying as black Jewish women. As black women, we have particular conversations with our children and our male children about
Yes.
what to watch for in the world beyond our doors and how to be mindful, how to behave around, how to, I'm saying this in quotation marks, behave around law enforcement, etc. And it seems like there's another layer for those of us who are parents to black Jewish children, black Jewish gentlemen, you know, and it's a whole other thing. So it just piles on, right?
It does. It does. So you have to deal with the racism in society, and then you have to deal with the racism within the religious part of your life as well, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so where do you find a place where you can feel safe and welcoming?
Yeah, where you
You
can
know,
just be. I have
where you can just
noticed
be.
I have noticed too that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you know,
Mhm.
I lurk on your page
Oh
because
yeah.
I do. Sometimes I comment, sometimes but I'm like, dang. But I have noticed, and it feels like there is um, a progression. You have become more and more like, I'm not taking this anymore person, you know?
Absolutely.
And I've definitely seen that movement, that shift where it's like, don't mess with her and don't mess with her children.
Right.
I was thinking,
Right.
like, was it the basketball, right?
Oh
Your
yeah.
son. Oh, I was
Yes.
like, so share,
Eh,
if you don't mind sharing that, because I was just
Oh,
like,
and you know what? I was actually going to bring that up too. Okay. So the situation is this. My son, he is one of a handful of black Jewish students there. I think, you know, before the majority were mine, you know, and now they have one or two
oh
from
my
some other place,
gosh.
and so I believe, and see, I know I'm probably going to butcher this. I don't know anything about basketball. Sorry, Dad.
Uh
um,
oh.
but he was the first in the school to do a triple double, I'm going to say.
Okay.
And from what I hear, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And so there was some yeshiva basketball organization at the game, and they took pictures, and they have a social media presence on Instagram, and they posted a picture with my son's stats with a white Jewish child
I'm telling
with
you.
his name as well.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, I found out about it a couple of days after it was posted. I went in, I looked at the comments, and my son's friends mentioned that that is not my son.
That's
that's not
not
Yoni. That's not him.
him.
You know, so can you change it? They did nothing. And then I found out that the child that whose picture they used was standing. I think there were two kids in the picture. There was that one child in the front, the one child in the back, and right next to the child in the back was my son Yoni.
Wow.
So they cropped him out of the picture.
They even took it to a whole other level.
Yes,
A
they
whole
cropped him
other
out of the
level.
picture. His friends were saying in the comments, "No, he's the black one. He's the black one." You know, and still nothing for days. And then I went on and I commented and I said, "Well, that is not my son." And I had to throw in not my son's likeness, and all
Uh,
the legalese and everything.
yes.
And so I asked them to put the proper picture,
Hmm.
or I would have to report it, because again, that's not my son, that's some other kid.
Exactly.
And instead of correcting, because it was like a one shot, one photo that listed the game, and then my son's picture of,
Hmm.
what was supposed to be my son's picture, and a whole host of other pictures from the game. They deleted the entire post, you know,
Wow.
instead of just correcting
Correcting
it.
it. Own
Yes,
it. Own
yes.
it.
Right, right. And so, I mean, of course, it was an infuriating experience because racism exists, and we know that
Hmm.
racism exists in the Jewish community. And so to see it so blatant like
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
so blatant, they did not want to give my son credit for his accomplishment.
Exactly.
It was
They
infuriating. And of
cropped
course,
him.
they cropped him out. And then later on, they eventually posted him with his stats. But I mean, after
Yeah.
I had to become mama bear,
Yeah. So, how did your son feel? What was his take on it all?
he tends to think that I overreact about these things, but I just think that it's because in some ways, I mean, he's coddled, you know. And I talk about racism all the time. I mean, I play the books in the car on the way to school, because I'm
Right.
like, no, you will not be the black Jewish kids going to this, majority Ashkenazi school who don't know anything about black history. You don't know your
Yeah.
history. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you have to. And so, he didn't think it was a racist thing until really sat him down and spoke to him about it. Because I wanted to know from him why he didn't step up. Why did he allow his friends to step up on his behalf?
Right.
And he said, well, they said they were taking care of it. I said, oh no. I said, no. I said, you were supposed to be in the forefront of making sure that your likeness is represented and someone else is not taking credit for
Yes.
your accomplishments.
Yes.
And if they want to help, that's wonderful. But you need to be in charge of that. You do not delegate that responsibility to someone else.
Absolutely. Because even if we take out the racism, even though we know it's 100%, in my opinion, racially motivated, but even if
Oh,
we take
absolutely.
out the racism, it is the case of you're not getting your credit for what you did. Full stop.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's another, like you said, another key message. So the key
I know.
message, yeah. So hey, I'm with you, mom, and and you're mom lawyer. So hey, hey, hey.
So yeah, so my kids are always like, "Oh, please, just do the right thing, so I don't have to get her involved."
Yeah. I have a question for you with the law.
Sure.
So why law?
My oldest son is on the spectrum, and so I was hating for him, and so I thought I wanted to become an educational advocate. That's how it started.
Okay.
And did I become an educational advocate? No, because I realized that I am not as zealous for other people's children as I am for mine. I am
Oh,
a staunch advocate for my children.
hey,
I
amen.
just don't have the same energy for someone else's child, unfortunately.
So hence law. Because I remember when you were going through that, I confess, I was stinking jealous.
Why?
Oh,
Why are you jealous?
because I love law, and I just feel that as a woman of a certain age, I am past going back to school. I know it's not
You're
necessarily
not. I was
true,
about to say
but
no. That is
I'm
not
kind of
true.
tired. I'm kind of tired, and you got to kind of be focused. Um,
You do.
so.
You do.
And so
You do have to be focused.
yeah, and I've always loved law.
I like the analysis of it all
Yeah,
because the outcome of a case or a situation can turn on one word or one event sometimes,
exactly,
you know.
exactly.
So it's just so interesting.
Yeah, because as part of my previous life, I did some legal nurse consulting, and I found it
Okay.
fascinating ripping through charts from, a perspective as a merge nurse and saying, and like you said, one thing can change it. Because I always would say to people, when they first come into the emerge, that moment can dictate the rest of their stay. For you,
Exactly.
if you omit something, if you it really does, and it just takes one moment. But we digress. But that's because I don't want to go down the nursing path at all, at all.
Don't take half measures when it comes to home security. Alarms and cameras work, but they'll only tell you that your worst nightmare just came true. Safety Screen by Metalex for windows and doors will keep your family safe and sound with real stopping power. They can't be cut, pried, or bashed in, so you can enjoy carefree ventilation in the spring and fall with peace of mind. And protect your fixed windows and doors with Rock Glass, an absolutely unbreakable clear covering. Call 416-638-2539 or visit metalexsecurity.com to book your free consultation. That's METALEX security.com. Remember, prevention is always better than the cure.
So let's talk about your organization. Some questions that I have for you.
Okay.
We know we're both on Facebook, and we know there's like 50,000 things going on where people are like, "Oh, I have even I do that. I have my group, not that I'm super active in it, but I have this." And we have different iterations of Jews of color initiatives and groups. Um
And
so my question to you is, is actually why. Why now? And what makes your group different?
I think it goes back to the fact that I am fed up, because you were spot on there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking, is there something I can do to change the status quo? You know, I'm so tired of everyone thinking that Ashkenazi Jews are the end all be all of the Jewish community, you know? And so I can't even remember how the idea came about. I think it was, I was reading something about someone who's halakhically Jewish, a Jew of color,
Mm-hmm.
who had just decided to turn their back on Judaism because they were so tired of the treatment that they were
Wow.
receiving in Jewish environments. And that touched me on such a profound level, because I thought about my boys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I thought about, like, again, they're coddled here, they're taken care of here, they're nurtured here. But at some point, they will leave the nest and they will go out into the world on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't be there to protect them, you know? And so when I think about that, I just don't want them to get to a point where they're so fed up with being mistreated that they decide, I want nothing to do with this anymore. And so that was the birth of the idea for Ahad Inclusive Alliance.
Wow.
Because if you notice, our slogan is a place where we don't ask how you're Jewish.
I did, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Because as Jews of color, and
Mm-hmm.
based on your personal experience, that if you walk into a Jewish environment, doesn't matter what environment it is, there's always someone there asking, well, how are you possibly Jewish?
Right.
Someone actually said that to me once.
Not like
how
that.
are you Jewish?
How are you possibly
Jewish?
Wow.
Yes. And that is the most.
Didn't your head blow off your body?
It depends on what day. What day people say things to be on. I was very stern with that person, because how dare you say that to me? We know that there are plenty of people impersonating Jews.
Oh my gosh.
Who are white.
Oh
who
my
are
gosh.
going into Jewish communities, getting married, and getting shidduchim and everything. And you're asking me, how am I
possibly Leah, it's funny you should say that. I was at I just came off this education conference thing, and this young man comes up to me. This is the last day, and he looks at me, he says, Rivka, I'm so glad you're here. And he's a JOC. He said, because, the first thing I do, he says, I look around, who looks like me?
Please do that.
I said, we do this, like, I see you over there. I see you, JOC.
Yes,
I see you. Yeah, I see you seeing me, seeing you, seeing me, right? And then, but then we started talking about exactly what you said. And we both talked about how, I said to him, remember that story? I can't even remember when it was, where it was like a whole community infiltrated. Yes. I said, where, participated in all sorts of Jewish tradition, Jewish rights, Jewish legal stuff. And I said, and then they were busted out. And I said, I remember, on Facebook, all of us JOCs were saying, that's because they were of a certain hue, you didn't bother to ask them, how are you Jewish? How are you possibly Jewish? I said, that when we are in the community, we're legit because they've quizzed us to death. But they blind eye.
Quiz us to death, practically take a blood sample, everything.
It's like, did you come not with your Jew card, but did you come with your DNA, with your certificates, with your this paper, that paper, this, drop everything. Your pants. We want to make sure. Like,
it's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And then, despite this story about their negligence, which was blinded by their racism, right? Which, you know,
Yes.
the blinders, they still do it to us and still won't do it to others.
Exactly.
I'd be.
It so happens. And it so happens. People are getting married to non-Jews and don't even know
Don't
it.
even know it. And
Don't
the
even
thing
know it
is,
because they don't question.
I would be, obviously questioning regardless is pretty crappy,
Exactly.
but I would be, if the practice was questioning everybody, then it wouldn't be a thing.
Exactly. Then it wouldn't be a thing.
There wouldn't be
But
a
it's
thing.
not everyone.
It's not everybody.
Only us.
It's like,
It's only us.
it's like, do radar out. How are you possibly? I will never unhear that, as I'm sure you
Yes.
have not unheard that.
Oh no. I can run down so many instances. I can't even speak right now.
Yeah, I know what you're
Instances
saying though. Yeah.
Where, where things like that have happened.
Right.
I'll give you another.
Sure.
This is back when I was married, and I think Yoni was a baby at the time, and my eldest was a teenager, and we had visited the shul. The shul shall remain nameless, and they were having a huge Shabbaton, and it was in a major community, and so my husband and I are standing, at Kiddush, and we're looking like, oh my God, there's so many Jews here,
Right.
because it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing to see, this whole sea of Jews. And this guy came up to us, and I'm looking around, and he looks at my husband. He's staring right at him, and he says, "Oh, we're so glad to see you here on Shabbos. We're open to people of your kind." Now, keep in mind,
Your kind?
of your kind. Now, he's talking to him. No, he's talking about
But
me.
you.
I turn and I look at this man, and we're in shul, so I'm not going to lose my head.
Yeah.
Right? And I say to him, there are some things that don't need to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned beet red and ran out of the shul. And I just looked at my my husband at the time, and I just said, I cannot believe this happens all the time. It's always something,
Yeah.
and so that leads me back to the organization.
Right.
There are two objectives, really. One, to be a welcoming environment for Jews of color, where we can have a sense of community. People can come to my home. I'm opening my home
Right.
to people to come for Shabbos and for the holidays. Also, I host for one Shabbos a month right now, because it's a lot to prepare your entire home and to
It is
and to get all of my boys all on track and in line, the whole list of things. I'm also going to accompany them to shul, because they may not feel comfortable going to an Ashkenazi shul, if they've had negative experiences. And me, I'm a protector. When I think about these things happening, I want to protect people so they feel comfortable in their own skin as Jews of color, So I will go with them to shul, and beforehand, I'll say, if anyone says anything off the wall, tell me and I'll handle it. So I don't want, my guests to feel put off by anything. I want it to be an open, welcoming, enjoyable experience for them. So that's the one aspect.
Right.
The other aspect is celebrating diversity, for Jews of color globally. So at my Shabbos table, we will focus on one particular Jewish community for that week. We'll discuss that Jewish community, their customs and traditions.
Right.
We'll also have meals that Jewish community. Yeah. Like recently I did Jamaican Jews.
Woohoo!
So
sorry.
yeah. So I made curry chicken,
What?
stewed chicken,
What?
steamed cabbage, rice and peas, and a rum cake. Yes.
Okay, let me say Jamaican style. Excuse me? What?
Yes. So yes.
Nice.
So around the Shabbos table, yes, we're doing our religious things, but we're also talking about the diversity within the Jewish community so that people know that there are other Jews out there. They have different traditions. It's not just Ashkenazi normative that we need to focus on.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I think by doing that, maybe I won't always. I mean, I'll have Jews of color always, but maybe we'll get some Ashkenazi Jews who
Why
end up
not?
sitting at our table.
Why not?
And they'll end up learning. So I think as the organization gets bigger, this is more like the grassroots effort of, educating people about the diversity within the Jewish community, So if I'm doing it this way and people are coming to my table and, and enjoying my hospitality, then I can spread the word. So then later on, they, say if there's someone Ashkenazi, they come and then they're like, oh my God, I had no idea that we're Jamaican Jews.
Exactly.
No idea. Or I had no idea, these Jews migrated from this place to go to this place. Or I had no idea there were Indian Jews, the Cochin Jews. That I had no idea about these things. And so I think, because I'm big on education, my kids will tell you. Anyone who really knows me well will tell you.
That's initially what you were going to do, right?
Yes, exactly. So educating people on the diversity fights back against Ashkenazi normativeness.
That is
perfect. And that is what I'm trying to do here.
And that's your niche. That's what makes you stand out from the myriad of other organizations.
Exactly.
That piece, right? Because I love that while Jews of color obviously have a space and a place, that you are recognizing the education needs to be widespread. The entire community needs to know about the diversity of us.
Exactly.
We can talk about
they really don't know.
They don't know, and obviously we know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is super cool. Super cool that you did Jamaica.
And I will be doing Jamaica again.
Nothing like Jamaican food.
I love my curry chicken.
Nothing like Jamaican food. So you are a nonprofit, so
yes, we're a 501c3 organization.
Excellent. That's important.
However, I have not solicited any donations. I've been personally financing everything. Yes.
Okay, we got to get it out there that you're, and this, my audience, is the advantage of having a lawyer assist with the startup, because your lawyer can do all that huge paperwork to become a 501c3.
That's right.
And she will bill herself. Oh my God. No, but that is so important. That is such a key. So we will get the word out there that donations welcomed, because
they are.
Because it should be a community thing anyways. Like, it's not meant for you to sustain this. It's a benefit to the community, period. So I think that's important that gets out there.
We had a few people come for our initial Shabbos open house in January, and so we're having 15 people, I believe, in February coming, and so we're going to focus on Moroccan Jews.
Okay.
On that Shabbos, yeah. So it's really exciting. So we're 15 people now.
Oh my goodness!
Thinking, oh my goodness, it's gonna be a full house in here. But I'm so excited about it.
Will be exciting
because then we get to walk to shul, and all of these Jews around us will see all of these beautiful brown Jews walking through the community.
I want to be there to see.
Orthodox Jews.
I want to be there to see. They'll be like, it's like a combination of, who are these people and why are there so many of them?
Yeah, exactly. And if I can help it, I don't care if I have people sleeping on the sofas, the floors. I don't care. I will have every square inch of this house covered with people, just so that we can come together, go to shul and enjoy and learn together.
That's just what you're doing. There's such a need for that. And the other piece that I absolutely love is the protective nature, because there's
Yeah.
nothing, there can
We're
be
not protected
nothing.
out here.
Yeah.
I
And
don't think
there's
we're
nothing
protected.
scarier sometimes than walking into a space that you should be comfortable walking in and just
Hmm.
being on edge and just
Yeah.
and wondering if anybody's going to talk to you, look at you, or worst case scenario, try and get you escorted out by security, you know?
Hmm.
And so to know that you are providing that is bloody awesome and so
Well,
needed.
well, I'm just, I'm very protective of those who quote unquote belong to me.
Yeah.
I'm very protective of my people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm trying to develop a sense of community here. You know, I'm also going to be throwing barbecues and Hanukkah
Uh-oh.
parties and
Okay,
things
you need
like
to give me
that.
some dates. I might have to I might have to take a flight. I might have to take a flight.
We actually do have someone flying in February for the open Shabbos, yeah. So yes. So I'm telling you, I'm really excited about where things can go, and I just feel like I'm doing Hashem's work,
You
you
totally
know.
are. Awesome.
But I'll definitely let you know because
You
because
need to.
I keep missing you every time I come to Toronto.
That is what's killing me too. Like it's like no joke. It's at least twice, maybe 3 times, at least both
Yeah.
times. You've been what, a couple of times recently?
Yeah.
Both times. I'm like, really? Really? I think one time I was actually out of the country, and I think the second time I was about 3.5 hours away from Toronto, so I couldn't even like zip down. I was like, is she doing this on purpose? No,
No, I had no
just
idea. It
teasing.
was like I want us to actually meet in person. I mean, we've known each other. God, I feel like we've known each other for over a decade. Has it
It
been that
has to
long?
be.
Probably
It
has.
has been. It has
Yeah.
been. I'm thinking at the
Well over a
very
decade.
least, I think we were already chatting before I'd gone to Israel the first time, right?
Yes.
And that was 2012.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was definitely before that. But I
Wow.
feel like I've always felt like I knew you. You know
Yeah.
that? Because
Yeah.
I lurk. So I follow you. So I've always felt like that I know you, even though this is the first time we've actually, voice to voice, like face to face
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
But I always felt like that. And I've always been, as you well know, I've always been very proud of you. Very
Oh,
proud of, oh no,
thank
very
you.
proud of the fact that, you went back to school to take on something that is a challenging degree with your children. You are the example of nothing. Don't tell me you can't do something,
You're right.
because you did
You
it.
can if you
Yeah,
put your
yeah,
mind to it.
precisely. And I've watched you, and almost like, I'm not gonna say like a mother because I ain't that old. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say like kind of like an older sister from afar, and just watching and embracing and supporting you from afar, because I find that you are an impressive woman,
Thank you.
and I've
I
always felt
appreciate
that
that.
way. So that's why I'm so glad to have met you in quotation marks, but so proud to have met you. So chuffed, because
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're an example of a strong Black Jewish woman. So you keep
Yes.
on
Yes.
you keep on keeping on.
Oh, I will. And
Yeah.
so I am going to use that strength to make sure we're all safe and protected and we
Mhm.
feel comfortable in our skin.
And thank you for that. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on Rivkush. It's been a pleasure. It's been a
Thank
joy. It's
you.
been wonderful. I am definitely going to spread the word so that we can get some donations coming in. Come on, people.
Yes.
Support this initiative. Support. And you do have a website. And for those, I will say the name again: Am Echad, Inclusive Alliance. And if your Hebrew is challenged, that's A, M as in Mary, E, C, H-A-D, Inclusive Alliance. Check out their webpage. Please reach out. Support. It is a nonprofit charitable organization, which means you'll get a tax receipt. All righty. So again, thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Rivkush is hosted by me, Rivka Campbell. We're produced and edited by Michael Freeman. Our theme music is by Westside Gravy. We're proudly sponsored by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation and hosted by the CJN Podcast Network. If you like this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. To support our work and everything else the CJN does, visit thecjn.ca/donate to make a monthly donation and receive a charitable tax receipt. Thanks for listening.
Scattered in the wind, never scattered too thin. To remember where we come from and the gold that's within. Zahav Yerushalayim, Asur Lishkoach, HaKdushat Haaretz, Shenoten Lanu Koach. Scattered in the wind, never scattered too thin. To remember